So this month, welcome to the month of August. This month, we are actually looking at inclusion in action. Inclusion in action. And today's talk is let's get together and feel all right. Let's get together and feel all right. I know that when we get together on Zoom, as we have been for several months now, that we have been feeling all right when we get together. And even though we have not been meeting in person, that even having the opportunity to see one another is indeed that generator of feeling all right. If I could just look at you. You know, it's interesting because had we been at the center, even though we get an opportunity to fellowship afterwards, we would actually just really be looking at the back of heads, you know? At the back of somebody's head. We'd be looking at the back of somebody's head. Here we actually get an opportunity to see each other's faces when folks turn their cameras on. So I'm going to encourage folks to turn on their cameras and to really participate and give us the opportunity as well to see your beautiful faces. But when I think of the word inclusion, what I know is that inclusion is the essence of who we are. Inclusion means oneness, and oneness does not mean sameness. We are one, but we are not the same. Oneness is a state of being whole, though it's comprised of two or more parts. So when I think of inclusion and when I think of oneness, I think about it in these terms. So for those of you who are foodies, or for those of you who missed breakfast this morning, I warn you now, you may get hungry. And that is, there's this idea of a melting pot where you just grab stuff and put it in the pot, and it is so hot that it just disintegrates and becomes one with everything else, and it is no longer identifiable. That is not what is meant by inclusion. If we think of it more like a salad, where in a salad bowl, you have your lettuce, butter lettuce, iceberg, romaine, whichever lettuce suits your fancy, where you have celery chopped up, where you have your green peppers, the sweet ones, you have tomato and cucumbers. I like throwing in some sunflower seeds and walnuts and cranberry. Go ahead and add the protein of your choice. But now visually take a moment to look at the melting pot and visually take a look in your imagination at the salad bowl. Inclusion and the practice of inclusion is more like the salad bowl. The tomato is not the cucumber, and the cucumber is not the bell pepper. Everything still retains its individuality, and yet it is part of the wholeness and the oneness that makes up this beautiful salad. Now, we've been dealing here in the US with talks about racism and Black Lives Matter and inclusion and things of that nature. And at some point, folks are like, hey, when are we ever going to stop talking about this stuff? And what I'm here to let you know is that, the practice of inclusion is actually the norm because it is our spiritual essence. And the way I like to describe that for you today is using this analogy. When you're in the store, when you're talking with people, when you're surrounded, in even groups like this, most people don't ever notice that they're being respected. But you know what? You notice the minute you're disrespected, don't you? Like the minute somebody disrespects you, at least let me put it this way, my neck starts to roll in. I'm like, what? Or I start snapping my fingers. But isn't it interesting that it isn't until I'm disrespected that I notice that all along I've been respected. It isn't until I'm disrespected when all along I recognize that all along, up until that point, I've been respected. And I believe in my heart of hearts, it's the same with inclusion, that for the most part, we as spiritual people, as human beings, practice inclusion. But then there's those times when we don't. Then there's those times where our hidden biases come out, or when we say something, or when we behave in a way that is not like that salad bowl. The lettuce doesn't say to the cucumber, you know, yo, you should get a little more leafy. No. In fact, the lettuce simply allows the cucumber to be its full self and is not, it doesn't try to change anything. It just simply allows this coexistence, this wholeness, this unity to happen. Now, the practice of inclusion, though, as conscious people, is something that we should really stay aware of. When are those times where I feel that inkling or that, because someone is behaving in a way or doing something that I don't think is right? Am I looking to find what's wrong, or am I looking with the eyes of finding what we have in common? You know, I've been quoted as saying that I'm looking to create and live in a love-minded community. I'm looking to create and live in a love-minded world. And how that is different from a like-minded world is that, just like Bertha shared, we don't have to have the same political views, the same attractions, the same color skin or texture of our hair. We are not the same. I might be the tomato, you might be the cucumber, someone else might be the lettuce, and yet in the practice of inclusion, there is room for all of us. And that's what I love about this teaching, about this philosophy, about this way of living, is that when I begin to really tap into the nature and the essence of who I am, the essence of who I am is already inclusive. You know, I think about the Mayan tradition, and in the Mayan tradition, in Laket, is actually a way of being, and it's a tradition that, should we adopt this for ourselves, we can actually begin to truly, truly create a world that works for everyone. I'm going to read you a poem, and this poem is based in Laket. In Laket means I am another yourself. I am another yourself. Now, some of you might be thinking, ooh, that's not proper English. I am another yourself. Be with that for a moment. I am another yourself. And in this poem is written by Luis Valdez and Domingo Martinez Padres. I'm going to read it in Spanish first, and then I'll read it in English. Tú eres mi otro yo. Si te hago daño a ti, me hago daño a mí mismo. Si te amo y respeto, me amo y respeto yo. In English, this poem is, you are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. Imagine for a moment greeting one another with, I am another you, and you are my other me. Imagine looking out into the world and actually seeing each and everything in that way. I am another yourself, and you are another me. What might that change in the world? What might that change in you? And so I want to open it up just for a moment to hear some of your thoughts about the practice of inclusion in this way, with this simple, practical way of applying what we already do naturally. Is there anyone who'd like to simply speak to what you've heard so far? Thank you, Jan.
If nothing else, saying that when I came into the presence of somebody else would really commit me to like mind my judgment P's and Q's. It gives me the breath statement that goes, I can't say this and be thinking this because I'll just be so out of alignment it won't even be funny. Mm-hmm. So it's that place. It buys me breath. It buys me thought, and it buys me an opportunity to put myself out there differently. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Let's hear from one other somebody. Bertha, you'll need to unmute because you're muted. Thank you, beloved.
That's because I talked to you through the whole message, so I mute myself. For me, it helps find the common ground. There's always common ground if you aren't blocking it. And if I'm seeing you as my other self and you're seeing me, we already found the common ground right there. And that's what we can build on.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. And so it is that this practice of inclusion is already who we are. I know that most recently I had the opportunity to welcome a dear friend that we've known for over 20 years or so, and she had an opportunity to live on the property. And as she was living here on the property, when I get to see her as my other yourself, or make that statement, the way and the manner in which I treat her, the way that I treated her, was, with the same, with the same way that I treat myself. Now, some of you might think to yourselves, well, I don't treat myself all that well. Well, it's time. It's time to know that right where you are, the presence of the Most High is, and that there's nothing that separates your life from the life of God, and that you are the unique and unrepeatable way that God shows up in human form, that God shows up in human form as you. And there's nothing, no thing that could ever separate your life from the life that God is. God is life itself. And so as ye have breath, that presence of God is right where you are. The allness, the potentiality, the joy, the beauty, the divine creativity is right where you are. And as I see that, as I know that, as I begin to take that in and have that be the meditation of my heart, then I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I am another yourself, and that you are my other me. You are my other me. And that is the oneness. That is the state of wholeness. That is the state of a unified field, though it has many parts. That is that salad bowl that I was talking about. We get to live in this love-minded community, and we get to share these principles and practices with others, that they too might awaken to their spiritual magnificence, that they too might awaken to, check this out, that they too, and that we too might awaken to this simple fact that I am another yourself, and that you are my other me. Like, if we were just to awaken to that, the possibilities are endless. The hatred would disappear. The fear would disappear. Hunger would disappear. We would care for our planet in such a way that it can continue to produce and sustain life. Inclusion is the essence of who we are. Somewhere within us, we already know our oneness with all. And now it's time to consciously practice it and practice it just a little bit more than we have before. And so many people in our secular realm have even sung songs. Of course, the most famous one, right, is One Love by Bob Marley. I love it when he says, one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. Hear the children cry, one love. Hear the children crying, one heart. Saying, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel all right. Saying thanks and giving praise to life itself when we recognize that we are indeed one. Let's take a moment in the silence. And in the silence, we might ask ourselves, is there anything blocking me from experiencing inclusion, practicing inclusion, feeling that joy and love of our oneness? And whether it's fear of losing something I have or want, I recognize that the fear is false evidence appearing real. I recognize that it is my belief in separation, that I believe that I am separate from the whole. And so I practice inclusion. I practice knowing the one power, the one presence, the one life that has created everything out of itself. Therefore, my life is the unique and unrepeatable way that God shows up. I remind myself of that truth. I anchor in that truth that there is no spot where God is not. I remember that you are my other me. I remember that I am another yourself. So I give thanks. I give thanks for this moment of remembering. I give thanks for the one song, the universe. I give thanks for the one song that has all the harmony, and all the harmony is diverse, variety, and difference that makes the one song. Together, each of us, we are the one song. We are the universe. So let's get together and be all right. It is so, and so it is.
So it is.